Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony, here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And today's talk is on how to read the tarot in 10 steps. A lot of you guys have been asking me on the channel in the comments and in emails and in DMs on my Instagram, how do I learn to read the tarot? How do you get messages that are so on point? How are you so accurate? And I always laugh when I get these comments because I think part of it does have to do with being an intuitive person. However, if you do really study the tarot and invest a lot of time in it, you will get good at it, just like anything else. Whatever you put momentum into grows. And I found myself at a place in life a couple years ago where I just got really into the tarot. I've always been the kind of person who loves to read books and imagine things, and I am kind of a daydreamer type of person. So if you're someone like that who loves books and loves movies and you're like a daydreamer, maybe you even love to write, you're really good with language or communication, or studying language, then you might find that you are actually really good at tarot. You don't necessarily need to be supernaturally psychic to become good at tarot. There's so many different ways to read the tarot. There's so many different ways to utilize the tarot. There's so many different ways to learn the tarot. But today I just want to share with you guys the top 10 things that have really helped me and that I advise clients on. I actually do train others how to do the tarot. I have a coaching package available, and some people purchase that and ask like, will you teach me the tarot? Some people want to learn it for professional reasons, other people just want to learn it for themselves. So I have actually taught others how to read the tarot, and some of these tips have helped me and have helped others learn. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. So go ahead and just relax, maybe grab a little snack or a notebook if you want to take some notes. And I'm just going to take you guys through this quickly. In the future, I would love to come out with more videos on this. This video has been a long time coming. I can't believe I don't think I've ever posted a video like this so far on the channel. So it is time. I just woke up and was like, today's the day. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, you guys. But I feel like by the end of this video, you're going to be a lot more confident on how to read the tarot and how to interpret some of these symbols. So the first step, okay, so tip number 1 on how to read the tarot is all about how you approach the tarot and grounding. So let's say you have a tarot deck. Maybe it's your first deck that you bought for yourself or that someone gifted you. Maybe you even have a deck of playing cards. Yes, you can use a deck of playing cards to read the tarot. That's the first thing I did when I started getting into tarot. I just walked around the corner to the little convenience store and I bought a deck of playing cards, and you can go online and kind of see how you can translate that into tarot. For instance, the hearts would be cups, the spades would be swords, the diamonds would be pentacles, the the one with the little flower kind of thing, that would be wands. So yeah, you can basically translate it, and kings and queens and all that. The Joker would basically be the Fool. So there's some cards that will be missing, but you can still kind of play around with tarot. So if you don't have a deck but you want to start reading, then you can use playing cards. So I have one of my favorite decks is just a random playing card deck, and for some reason it just speaks to me. You'll see me pull it out sometimes. So basically you've got your deck and you want a reading, you want to pull a card. It's like, what do? Do you just start shuffling and pull a card? I mean, you can, but I think it's really important. You're going to get better readings when you approach the tarot in a certain way. So if you're super stressed out, or if you're freaking out, or you're really angry, or you're like really obsessed about something, like sometimes when you approach the tarot that way, you will pull cards that mirror that energy. You might pull a card that's all about, like, you ask a question about something, but instead you get a card that means anxiety, frustration, like time to relax. You might not get the answer to your question. The tarot can be like that sometimes. Sometimes it can be a little snarky. Decks kind of take on an energy of their own. So the energy that you put into the deck and that you approach the deck with is really important. And I really believe that mirrors in the whole world. Like, I always say this world is like a mirror, whatever you put out, you get back. I mean, we talk about karma and stuff like that a lot on the channel. The tarot deck can be the same. So approaching the deck in a calm manner is really helpful. So I think it's important perhaps to create a little ritual out of the tarot. Like for me, I always lay down like a really nice blanket or tapestry. I usually light a candle or some incense. I take deep breaths, I ground myself. Sometimes I hold a crystal and I will just pray, or I will just set an intention. Some people like to clear their energy too, like just pray for clearance, or imagine like a beam of white light going into their body so that they can get into that relaxing state. Some people like to just take deep breaths and like maybe imagine roots coming out of their root chakra, grounding them to the earth. There's so many different ways, but the whole point basically is to ground yourself and set good intentions. I know that there's a lot of stigma out there about the tarot, so if you feel a little bit scared, like, oh no, am I gonna get possessed by demons if I do tarot, or you know, is this satanic or something? Then I would spend some time to really ask yourself like what your beliefs are and kind of figure out like how you feel about it before you go to the tarot, because I know some people like approach the tarot with fear, and then maybe you see the devil card come up and you start freaking out like something bad's gonna happen. Like, your state of mind and what you project has a lot to do with like what you see and what you get from the tarot. So if you go into tarot readings believing that this is a peaceful way to uplift yourself, that the tarot is simply just a mirror and a reflection of you and your energies, or perhaps you see the tarot as just, you know, uplifting messages, almost like, you know, having one of those little calendars that has a little quote on it every day for you, like message of the day kind of thing. Like, whatever you see from the tarot and whatever you want from the tarot is pretty much what you're gonna get, if that makes sense. So basically calming yourself, feeling relaxed, not approaching the tarot out of fear. Like, you don't want to be paranoid that, oh no, I'm like a little nervous about this question. Is the tarot gonna attack me? It's not like that. But it's just making sure that you're relaxed. So figuring out what your ritual is. Once again, for me, it's laying out a nice blanket or tapestry, lighting candles. I like to imagine a shield of protection around me that only love and light can penetrate, only love and light can go out. And I pray that the messages I receive are for my highest good and the highest good of anyone who might be involved in whatever situation or thing I'm asking about. And then I kind of just go from there and start shuffling and pull the cards. So intention is everything. I think prayer can be important for some people. You can say in your mind or say out loud that you're just looking for a positive message, and you can just set your intention for the session before you go into it. So if you just run to your tarot and pull a card, is that bad? No, I do that sometimes. Sometimes I do, like, something's going down and I'm like freaking out. Like, I don't know, let's say like there's a phone call or something and like my husband's on the phone and like it sounds really intense and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so like I just like split my deck and pull a card and I'm like, oh, this is just a telemarketer who he's trying to like hang up on. You know, like I can pull a card and be like, don't worry about it or whatever. Like sometimes you're in a moment and you want a card and you just go and pull the card. You can develop a relationship with your deck like that to where you can pull a card, but generally it's best to just relax, chill, get grounded, set your intentions, and try to approach the tarot when you're in a good frame of mind. I go to the tarot most often when I'm freaking out about something. I think that that's normal. We tend to pray more, we tend to seek spiritual guidance, or we want help, or we want support or uplifting when we're freaking out about something. So that's probably most of the time you'll be pulling cards, but I think it's good to develop a relationship with the deck and to also pull cards when you're feeling calm and when you're feeling balanced and when you're feeling collected, because those are the times that you're going to get the clearest messages, okay? So I hope that resonates with you guys. So the next step number 2 has to do with guidebooks and pulling a card a day. So every deck comes with a guidebook. For instance, this deck right here, which is the Fairy Tarot cards by Radley Valentine. I love this deck. Who else has this deck? It comes with a little guidebook. So if I was to pull a card from here, it's also great because there's a message on the card, but I can dig a little bit deeper into the meaning of this card by reading the guidebook. So that's the first way and the easiest way to read the tarot when you first get it and like you just don't even know what you're doing. Every deck has a guidebook, and just ask before you purchase the deck, does this have a guidebook? Read the back of the little box it comes in and just clarify that there's a guide deck that comes with a guidebook that comes with the deck. So let's see, I'll pull a card real quick. I just pulled this card, the Queen of Spring, and it says brilliant, loyal, talented, and friendly. And then the card reads, believe in yourself. Wonderful people want to help you. Maintain a balance between work and home life. I'm laughing because this card already kind of has a special meaning to me. I'm kind of already getting a message or a download about this card, which I'll teach you guys how to do in a second. But let's say like I don't know what this card means. I just pull it and I'm like, okay. I'm going to open up the book, okay? Queen of Spring, here it is, and there's a longer message that spans 2 pages, and it says, the Queen of Spring is truly amazing. She can write up a marketing plan at work, throw a birthday party with 30 kids in attendance, volunteer for the local animal shelter, and somehow make it home in time to dress up for that formal event that's so important to her spouse. A devoted parent, she is graceful, intelligent, and lovely. And yet her most endearing attribute is that she is a true friend. She will be there for you no matter what, and that's why everyone loves her. On the other hand, she can be a fierce competitor. An independent and strong leader, she likes to have things her way. Chances are very good that you'll agree with her ideas, but if you don't, you may have a challenging time getting her to come around to your point of view. The Queen sits, and then it describes the card. The Queen sits on her throne, carefully contemplating her next step. Her red dress indicates that she is very passionate about her plans, and she will not wait long before taking action. And then it says additional meanings for this card. Trusting in your own abilities, showing grace under fire, maintaining a balance between work and home, being a good parent, the determination to succeed. So basically, if you don't know what this means, you can just read the card if there's any notes on it, and then open up the book and then just grab whatever resonates. Some things might resonate. Like when I read this, I was like, that kind of sounds like my personality. That's cool. I get a little personality reading. But I pulled this as a card of the day, and what's really sticking out for me is maintaining a balance between work and home. I just got back from just like a little 3-day vacation because I've been working so much lately, and you know, now I'm back, and today I woke up and I'm like, I have to work. I have all these ideas, all these things on my list, and like readings to do, you know, after the sale, readings to do for everyone. And yeah, today my goal that I set was just like having good balance, not trying to do too much, but also not being lazy. So I think this card for me, the meaning that I'm kind of getting based off what I read in the book is just like, maybe I'm doing a good job at that, or like, you know, reiterating my intentions for today, or like I'm being supported in that intention. I have what it takes to get it done. This says believe in yourself, like you can do it. So it's like motivation for the intention I already set for the day this morning. That's kind of how I'm reading it. So there we go. That's basically an example of, and I'm so glad, I'm so thankful I just got that message. That's what I love about the tarot, you guys, is it's so kind and uplifting, and you can just get support, whether you're just like, cool coincidence that I pulled this card. Every card has a new message. I can meditate. You can pick a deck that you feel inspired by and just like incorporate those messages in your life. Some people believe like I'm really getting guidance from the other side and from the spirit world, and like this was meant to be. Like whatever way you approach the deck, whatever you believe, like the tarot can help. And I think the best way to start is just with the book, you know? And starting with decks like this that have little messages. So like, you know, some decks are just pictures, you know, like this one right here. It's so funny. Queen of Swords is very similar to this card. So some decks just say, you know, Queen of Swords, and then there's a picture. We'll talk about how to read that in a little bit, but picking a deck that's more like a tarot spin-off deck or like an oracle deck that's very helpful like this to start with could be amazing. So the second part of number 2 is a card a day. Start with pulling a card a day like I just did. I just showed you guys an example of what's my message for the day, or what should I focus on today? And just start by pulling a card a day. That's a really good way to start to get to know your deck. I think a lot of people get intimidated because they get a tarot deck because they need answers. And so they're asking about their love life, they're asking about their family, they're asking about finances, they're asking about this and that and this. And they sit down and in one session, like the first day they get their deck, they're so excited and they try to pull like all of these things. And all of a sudden you have a headache, or the room is spinning, or you feel weird, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or your anxiety's worse, or there's a pile of cards laying in front of you, you don't know what it means. Or maybe you get freaked or spooked out because you see some cards that have some more intense themes on them and you don't understand them, and you're like, am I cursed? Like, has that happened to anybody out there? I'll be honest with you guys, when I first got into tarot, that was me. I was like, I have the answers to everything now. But then I was like, wait, I realized that questions lead to more answers, which lead to more questions, which will lead to more answers. So start with a card a day, and after you get that message, reflect on it. See how you can incorporate those energies into your life. Take some time to really think about it. I personally, at this point in my life, you guys, only pull cards for myself maybe once a week. Besides my card a day, I'm pulling maybe once a week. Or if something big goes down, I'm pulling cards, or maybe on the new moon or something. It's really not even that often. You guys know I'm always pulling cards for the channel and stuff, but personally, I think it's important to be present in your life. I've realized the cyclical nature of tarot, to where, like I said, questions lead to more answers, which lead to more questions, which lead to more answers. The tarot is a reflection of you. All the answers are within. So tarot is a tool to help you tap into yourself, or your higher self, or for divination, talking to the other side, or whatever. But remember, it's important to be grounded in our lives here, right now. And there is such thing as tarot addiction. You know, I want to talk about that real quick. Tarot addiction, you can be addicted to almost anything. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to, obviously, drugs. You can be addicted to gossip and drama. You can be addicted to information. That's why some people are really addicted to being on the computer, reading things and going on Reddit and stuff like that, because nothing wrong with that. It's just if you're doing that all day long, it's kind of like information overload, and you can get headaches, and you can become unbalanced. So same thing with the tarot, that you got to approach it with balance. You got to approach it with respect for yourself and respect for the cards, and realize that there is such thing as tarot addiction, and it's important to kind of take it slow when you're learning how to read the tarot. You can physically or emotionally or mentally get sick, or get sick from doing too much tarot. I even believe, I've called it, this is just something I believe there's such thing as like tarot psychosis, where if you're reading the tarot too much, you're tapping too much into the future, you can get a little psychotic. That happened to me when I first started reading the tarot. Like, I was like, oh, like all this energy, and I was really spacey, and I wasn't very grounded, and it was just, you know, it can be really intense. So taking breaks from the tarot, taking it really slow, like getting used to this energy, and you know, tarot can be very exciting and very uplifting and really helpful, but everything in moderation. Anything can, if you get too much of it, can be not as good for you. So it's just like anything else, you know, maybe 1 drink of alcohol, that's nice, that's fun, 2 drinks, but 10 drinks, you know, you're throwing up. Same thing with tarot. You're pulling a couple cards, you've got some questions, great, it's fun, you're getting some stuff, but 50 cards later, 50 questions later, you're even more confused, you have more anxiety, the room is spinning, you feel sick, it's too much energy that you're taking on into your body, you know? So that's just kind of what I want everyone to know about the tarot, is that it's all about balance. I don't want you to be afraid of it. It's just, this is energy that we're playing with here, and it's meant to be approached respectfully and in moderation. And you know, you got to kind of build up to be doing what I'm doing right now. If you wanted to be doing tarot professionally, it takes time to build up to. You know, you want to start just reading cards for yourself. I wouldn't go out there and read cards for like all your friends and stuff the first week that you get the tarot. You know, if you want to show them your deck, have them pull a card and read the guidebook, and you guys can talk about it or something. But I wouldn't be doing that. I've heard some people who've said that like they would pull cards for their friends and then they would both be crying and it would be so amazing, but it's like that's a lot of energy to be taken on from other people. Like dealing with your own energy with the tarot is like enough when you first start. But basically, if you want to do tarot professionally, you can totally build up to it. Like you can get to, you know, grounding techniques are really important. That's a whole other discussion though on reading the tarot professionally. Should I do a talk on that? Do you guys want to hear tips and tricks for reading the tarot professionally, or like how to do that? Definitely, that'd be fun. Let me know if you want that video. So next, number 3 is numerology. Okay, so there's so many different things that can help you read the tarot. Like if you have a background in numerology and understanding what the numbers mean, and like the life path numbers and the energy of certain numbers and the meaning of certain numbers, then like that can help your tarot reading. For instance, we've got the 2 of Swords here. So the number 2, if you understand what the number 2 means, which I do, 2, obviously it's like this power of duplicity. It has to do with division, but also togetherness. It's interesting because the 2 of Swords here is talking, you see these 2 pillars, it's a card talking about indecision, not knowing which way to go. 2 different paths to take. Should I choose this, option number 1, or should I choose option number 2? It's cool because when you understand the meaning of 2 and then you look at the card and the symbols, like it all kind of comes together for you to kind of understand what it means. 2 is also a really powerful manifesting number. I can sit here and talk about number 2 all day, but you guys kind of get my point. If you study numerology and you learn about the numbers, there's so many websites and books and information about that out there you can study and take notes on. When you're reading the tarot, you can understand even more about it because you'll understand numerology. I love watching tarot readers on YouTube that are really knowledgeable about numerology. I know some stuff about it, but there's some tarot readers where that's one of the major focuses when they're pulling cards, and they'll notice all these different patterns when they pull a spread, and I think that is just the coolest thing. So that can be something that can help you and make you an even better reader. Next tip, number 4, has to do with imagery and the pictures that you see on the card. So let's pull another card here. So we got the Prince of Wands. So what's cool is if you understand, if you're really into divination or like animal totems or sacred geometry, or you understand even flowers, certain flowers have specific meanings, and plants, color symbolism. If you have studied that, like you understand that the color red means like passion and has to do with the root chakra and has to do with fertility and abundance and feeling safe and feeling protected. And you know, if you understand that the color red, like what that means. If you understand the color yellow here has to do with the solar plexus chakra, and you know about the solar plexus chakra, and then you know the symbolism that stands for the color yellow. If you know that horses symbolize freedom and strength and perseverance, if you understand, you know, the energy of the divine masculine, there's a male here. If you're you know the symbol difference between the valley and the mountains, and like what that means if you're at a time in your life where you're on top of the mountain, you know, there's so many different little things. You know, clouds can deal with, you know, have to do with confusion, but we're seeing like the parting of the clouds. So that could mean like, you know, strength of thought and persistence and intelligence. You know, all of this, all the little things and messages on the card. If you study those things, like you will understand so much more about the card. So there's like the literal translation. What I think is really cool is from different religions and different cultures, there are certain symbols that mean certain things. Like in one culture and in one tradition, the horse could mean this. But in one culture or one tradition, the horse could mean that. But what's interesting is sometimes you find that between all cultures and all traditions, there's one specific meaning behind the horse symbol that everyone seems to agree on. So that could be this, what is important to you. Maybe you come from a certain heritage or certain background, so maybe that's what you want to study. Like maybe you are from like Mexico, and so you are really into the religion there, maybe like Catholic symbols or symbols from like the Mayans or the Aztecs or whatever is important to you, so you could study that symbolism and bring that into how you interpret your cards. Or maybe you just feel really connected with one specific type of tradition or something, and you're going to bring that into what you're doing. So basically on your own, you can study symbols, you can study color meanings, you can study sacred geometry, you can study numerology, you can study plants. I know always in a lot of decks you'll see plants, and certain plants have certain meanings, certain flowers have certain like meanings or energies behind them. So basically you can study that on the side through books, through just like YouTube, through maybe taking classes or however you want to do it, and then you can apply that to when you see the card, like what is popping out at you. The next thing has to do with maybe looking at the imagery, but seeing, like, kind of trancing out and seeing if you can find a visual. That's going to kind of get me into my next step here. But basically by looking at the card, what stands out to you? What do you feel drawn to? What's weird is this is the Prince of Wands. And so a lot of times in a love reading, I will separate the court cards to get somebody's personality. I know a lot about this card. I've studied it a lot. What I'm noticing here is there's this little rose or this blossom here in the corner. You can barely see it on the screen, but I'm seeing that today, and it's really standing out to me, and it's showing me that this person, let's say we're pulling this card for a love reading, this person would be somebody who has had their heart broken in the past, but they're open to new love. It's just they're gonna tread softly. They're gonna be confident. They're gonna pursue you hard, but they might be a little indecisive about like wanting to lock it down with you, or they might take their time, or they might try to conceal the fact that they're a little nervous when it comes to love. Their confidence might be kind of covering up the fact that they actually tend to kind of wear their heart on their sleeve. So anyways, that's just me getting a reading off of one little tiny part on the card. So you can look and see, like, what do I feel drawn to? How does that feel to me? What do I see from that? What do I know about that type of symbolism? So you guys, this is a whole thing. Like, you can, like, that's why I love tarot, because I, for years now, have studied symbolism of the plants, of the colors, and so now when I see the tarot, that's why so many things come out to me. That's how I'm able to read. So that answers a lot of your questions. How do I know so much, or read the tarot so well? You will never run out of different things to learn when it comes to the tarot. This is why it's such a rewarding thing for me, because I'm never going to get sick of learning there's so much more to learn every day with this thing. So okay, the next thing has to do more with like you and your intuition. Okay, so when you're looking at a card, asking yourself, like, what does this card remind me of? Like, what are my personal thoughts and feelings? Like, so let's say that you see a card like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person, like their energy or the way that they look kind of reminds me of like one of my friends. And then this card over here like reminds me of another friend, and oh, I just had a conflict with that person. And then this card is talking about like making progress and like, being creative. And so maybe I should, continue working with this person creatively, because even despite our differences, we can come together. I'm just making stuff up. So basically, you can look at a card and you can realize like you could just have certain epiphanies because the image reminds you of something, or you're looking at it and a certain feeling comes up. Maybe you are looking at a card and something about it just makes you feel weird or just kind of upset. You can tap in and ask yourself, where is that coming from? Where is that emotion coming from? Where is that feeling coming from? And sometimes the tarot can be a way for you to reflect problems or conflicts or anxieties or energies that you've been repressing. The tarot has a really incredible way of just bringing everything to the surface. And that's amazing because when you bring things to the surface, you can confront them and you can come to peace and you can be more present in your life. And it can even help with your mental health or emotional health or even physical health sometimes. So it's pretty cool. The tarot will bring things up. So pay attention to your own personal thoughts, what the card's reminding you about, and your own feelings when you see each card. So the next way to read the tarot is using your spiritual gifts. So becoming acquainted with what spiritual gifts you gravitate towards or which ones you feel like you have can be very helpful. So I have a reading that's called What Are Your Psychic and Spiritual Gifts that you can search for and you can find here. I'll drop a link below if I can remember. It's just called Rainbow Harmony, What Are Your Psychic and Spiritual Gifts. It's a pick a card reading, but so you can do the pick a card, but I would suggest that you actually watch the whole video and ask yourself which one of these or which two of these do I feel like I have the most, because I explain every spiritual gift like in depth in that, and I want to save time on this video and not do that because that could be like a half-hour talk. But watch that if you're not really sure what your gift is or you want to do a pick a card reading on it. It could be fun. But basically, let's say you have the spiritual gift of clairsentience, which is basically clear feeling. It's the gift of an empath. It's the gift of somebody who's intuitive. So you're receiving intuitive guidance through your thoughts, through your feelings, and through your emotions. So knowing that you have that gift and pulling cards, you want to be really paying attention to your emotions or any like body feelings or sensations. So let's say that you pull a card and you get really happy and you're like, oh my gosh, I just feel really excited. I just had this weird feeling like something big's gonna happen, like something amazing is coming in for me. And it's it's the 10 of Hearts, you know, and this is actually a card that's talking about celebration. And so you could look at this and be like, looks like maybe that decision I made a couple weeks ago, there's gonna be a big payoff on it, and there's a celebration and a butterfly and a new start, and this is gonna go well. And you know, if you're asking a specific question and you pull this card, but you're also having like amazing feelings connected to it, like that's a good sign, you know, that you can take that as a message. Another example would be, let's say that you have the gift of clairaudience, okay? This is a very controversial gift because it's different than like hearing voices. Clairaudience is like an inner hearing. It's like the voice of your conscience, like your conscience is speaking to you. Maybe it's like, you can see it as hearing the voice of your higher self, or hearing like just little messages. So sometimes the clairaudience can sound like, go that way, or stop, or choose that one. Like you kind of think more in words and in sentences based off of other people who might think more in feelings, if that makes sense. So let's say you pull a card like the 7 of Pentacles, and you asked a question about like, you know, how long is it gonna take for me to finish this project? And then you pull this card and then you hear a message that's like telling you, you know, give it 3 more months or something like that. And so you're hearing this message, and you're looking at this card, and it just has that feeling of like, you need to spend more time on this. Like, you're not done yet. You're not ready to harvest yet. Like, you need more work. You need more focus. You need more dedication. So you're looking at the card, you're seeing, you kind of know, you've studied and you know what the 7 of Pentacles means, and then like you get this clairaudience message that kind of tells you a time frame. Like, that's another way to approach the cards. Let's say that you have the spiritual gift of aura reading, and so you're able to understand colors a lot, and you can see auras, or you have the perception of auras. You've studied auras and the colors. And let's say that you pull another card. Here's a 10 of Wands, and you're really drawn to the colors. Maybe you're seeing energy reflected off of some of the symbols here, or you're able to really understand the colors, and maybe the muddiness in this card is standing out to you, and you're just like, wow, that's really interesting. 10 of Wands has to do with feeling like overburdened or overworked, or feeling stressed, like needing a break. Gee, I wonder why I'm pulling this card. So feeling a little intimidated. This is me thinking about all the readings I gotta do from the sale. I'm looking forward to it though. So yeah, you can understand a lot. So basically just figure out what your spiritual gifts are. One more I want to talk about is automatic writing. Some people are really gifted with communication and really gifted with writing, and like they can write poetry and write music, and they're really good at like speaking, and maybe they like to write books or novels, or they have a big imagination. Sometimes you can have a piece of paper next to you and just kind of start writing or start doodling, and you can get messages through that. So some artists, some people, if you like to doodle, if you're on the phone talking to people and you're doodling, or if you just find yourself scribbling, or if you were always doodling in class, like weird little doodles, sometimes like you can find out a lot about your frame of mind or how you're feeling, or like what's going on inside of you by like looking into those doodles. Allowing yourself to doodle with one hand and like not even looking at it or thinking about it while you're like reading a card, or like you put a card in front of you and you just doodle, kind of trance out like while you're like just looking at the card, or put on some music and doodle. You can get some crazy and then look at that, and using divination and using you can basically translate the symbols, and it's just fun. It's fun. Maybe you want to write down phrases. I actually got a reading once from somebody in person who was doing that. She had a little notepad and she was scribbling and writing, and like she didn't even have cards. That was like how she did the reading. It was really crazy. If you guys ever watched I think they're called the Psychic Twins or something. I know Shane Dawson like featured them. They actually do that. I've seen them, one of them or both of them, writing and using their automatic writing gift to get messages. So it's pretty cool. There's different ways, and just figure out what your gift is, work on it, strengthen it. And I have readings about, how to strengthen those gifts, or how to figure out which one yours is. So check that out. The next point, if you're still here with me, is keeping track of the cards that you're pulling and journaling. So this is something that can help you become really good at tarot. One of my favorite ways to journal is simply just by writing notes in the book. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if I can get this to focus. There you go. Check that out. Like I have all these notes here and all these different, and I've underlined things. So don't be afraid to play around and like underline things and write notes in the book. This is what I do a lot when I'm flying, like on an airplane. I'll just bring a book with me, like one of my tarot books, and I'll just relax on the plane and underline and take notes in the book. So if you're doing a reading for yourself and you're like stumped, you can go back into your book and read the little notes you've written. And a lot of my books look like this actually. Don't be, if you bought this and it's yours, like don't be afraid to mark it up or to leave notes in the book. You can also have a journal and keep track of like the cards that you're pulling. Sometimes like your card of the day, you can see some crazy patterns and realize, wow, whenever I pulled this card, I always tend to pull it during the new moon. That's really strange. I always pull this card during the full moon, and it seems like an energy that I'm usually experiencing around that time of the month. Or sometimes you'll realize this card, I always pull it before something like this happens. Like every time before something like this happens, I'm pulling this card. And so you pull the card again and you're like, okay, I think I know what to expect here. And then it happens and you're like, what? Okay, so this card is kind of helping me out and like helping me prepare for something. Like you can develop a special relationship with each card or with your cards by keeping a journal. Also, writing things down does help you to retain information. That's why in school and stuff, they're always making you take notes and write it down, because there is research that's proven that will help you like learn things and memorize things. Also, the tarot cards themselves are pretty much like flashcards. So just pulling a card a day, taking notes, eventually you start to kind of get a meaning from each card. Okay, so I have a couple more tips for you guys. A couple more tips. Studying the traditional tarot. Okay, so there's the traditional tarot, like the Rider-Waite deck. This is basically the traditional tarot I have right here. And each card has a historical meaning, like the Seven of Swords means this, or the Ace of Pentacles means this. I think rules are meant to be broken, so sometimes I'll pull a card and I'll be like, oh, this is the Star, but in this context, I kind of feel like it might not mean its traditional meaning 100%. It might mean something like this. But I think when you first get started, allowing the cards to kind of stick to their traditional meaning, studying the traditional tarot will really help. And each card has, has certain meanings for your love life, for your health, for finances, for career, for, potential outcome, for what to avoid or what action to take, or like every card has like a different meaning almost for each category, and certain themes that will be carried throughout each suit, like the swords or the pentacles, or the major arcana, like has certain themes. So if you just study the traditional tarot, you get some books on it, watch some YouTube videos on it, read some websites on it, you can learn a lot. Some of my favorite resources, I love Biddy Tarot website. I also love Truly Teach Me Tarot. That website is an amazing resource. Learning the story of the tarot, because the tarot actually tells a story. It starts technically with the Fool, and it goes all the way through the major arcana, and then it goes all the way through all the different suits, and at the end of the journey, the Fool is different, and then it kind of starts all over. Like, it's talking about the journey that we all go through life, like the different things that happen to us, the hurdles that we climb, the amazing energies that we all get to be a part of here on this planet, like what we all have in common. And so it's really interesting. The Fool's journey is very similar also to the hero's journey, which is usually in plays or in books or in movies, kind of a journey. Like, you can watch, if you understand the hero's journey, you can watch every movie or you can read every book and kind of like realize, oh, we're at this point in the journey, we're at this point in the journey, we're at this point in the journey. There's basically a pattern. Once you understand the hero's journey, books and movies are almost ruined for you forever. I took a screenwriting class when I was in college, and I learned about that. So now when I watch movies, I'm like, oh, look, that's the call to the adventure, and that's the journey to the innermost cave, and oh, there's the refusal of the call, and there's like different points that you can kind of break scenes or break the characters and what they're going through down. So when you understand the Fool's journey in the tarot and all the, the cards and how that correlates to the Fool's journey, and it's pretty crazy because you can apply that to your life. And so the tarot kind of teaches you about the cyclical nature of life. And so everyone's life is very unique, but it's interesting. That's kind of how I can do a little bit more predictive tarot, because if I see a certain card and then I'm holding other cards around it, you can almost predict what could happen next, or what could come next, or what stage of the journey that someone is at, and therefore where they could be headed to next. And so that's how sometimes I'll get predictions. It's just from a lot of studying and understanding the Fool's journey. So you could learn that too. And it's pretty cool. So studying the traditional tarot, there's a lot of merit to that. I study it every day. Every day I'm studying. And I'll probably do that the rest of my life. That's what I love about tarot. There's always more to learn. So we got 2 more points, you guys. Who's still here with me? Okay, number 9 is work with spreads. So we've got traditional spreads like the Celtic cross or past, present, future. I think it can be really helpful to make your own spreads too. I do that all the time. I make spreads for my clients sometimes. And so what a spread basically is it's like a guideline for how you're gonna pull the cards. So past, present, future. You pull one card for the past, you pull one card for the present, and you pull another card for the future, and you lay them out. And then you look at the card for the past in the context of like what happened in the past, or what energies were surrounding you in the past. You look at the next card for the present, like what energies were surrounding you in the present, and then the next card's the future. What is your potential outcome based off this energy that you've been through and where you are now? What could the potential be for the future? And so I think that that's a classic reading, a really fun one to start with. You can also pull like 2 card spreads, like, what decision do you want to make? Like, what does it look like if you choose this decision? What does the outcome look like if you choose this decision? And then maybe like an advice card. So spreads are a really great way to work with the tarot. I just have to say, if you're first getting started, don't do huge spreads and try to pull just one card. Because sometimes the more cards you pull, the more muddier the answers will get. That's why I'm constantly telling people when I'm doing like a pick a card reading, it's pick a card. Some people are like, I chose 5, 4, and 3, and it was great. That's cool, you know. Trust your intuition, but sometimes if you pull too many or you pick too many options, it's just gonna be muddy. If you're looking for a specific answer, when you're doing my pick a card reading, pick one card unless it says you can pick more. When you're pulling cards for yourself, pull one card and then like a clarifier. And the better that you get at the tarot and the longer that you're doing it, you can pull more cards. I love to pull tons of cards. You guys have seen me do that. If I've done a personal reading for you, you'll see a big pile of cards and just card after card after card. The longer that you're doing tarot, the better that you get at it. Like you can choose. There's some people who have their own style of they just pull you one card and that's how you get your reading. Then there's other readers that go through half the deck. So I think style has a lot to do with it. There's really no right or wrong way to pull cards or the tarot, but just, you know, whatever feels best for you. I think real quick we'll talk about shuffling the cards. Shuffle however you see fit. If you want to split the cards in half, great. If you want to slam the cards together like I do, awesome. If you want to, you know, shuffle the traditional way or whatever, you can. If you want to throw the cards over your shoulder and see which ones flip over, great. Like, you know, if you want to chew up the card and poop it out, and that's how you, just kidding. However you want to pull your cards, that's your business. And I think that something that does help when it comes to pulling cards is just shuffling in a way to where you basically get one card or just 1 or 2 cards, you know. Also using your left hand for some reason just really helps. It's like your witch paw. It's like it's connected to your heart. Energetically, that's the hand that's receiving and the right hand is the hand that's giving. So that can help if you're flipping the card over to read with the left hand, or you're incorporating the left hand, or splitting the deck with the left hand. That can be helpful. Okay, number 10, meditate and manifest with your cards. Okay, so this is my last tip for you guys is as you're learning the tarot, let's say you're trying to manifest travel somewhere. You could take the 6 of Swords. You know, maybe you've been through a difficult time and you're like, I just want break, I want rest, I want my rainbow after the storm, I want to get away, I want to go somewhere by the beach. Like, you could take this card and like put it on a table and make a little altar around it and put crystals that have to do with travel and healing and abundance on it, and light a candle and pray over it, or hang it on your wall or something. Like, you can reflect on certain cards. Let's say you want to manifest a partner for your work. You're like, I really want to hire somebody to help with my business, or I want, like, you know, to hire someone to help me, or I want to get a job where I can, you know, be someone's assistant or something like that. Or I really need help with this project. I need someone to help me. Like, you can put it under your pillow and you can pray over it every night and just sleep on top of it, and, you know, make up your own little rituals. So you can also, what I've done before is if you're trying to learn a certain card, you can spend some time just like staring at the card and staring at the, you know, the Fool here. Let's say this, you want to meditate on this card, you pulled it. You can relax, take some deep breaths, clear your energies, and imagine yourself in this scene and in this location, and this character, the Fool, approaches you, and, you know, what does the Fool say to you? What does the Fool give to you? What is the Fool, you know, what is this, you know, what do they want you to know? You can do like an imagination or like visualization exercise to speak to the person on the card, or to the energies in the card, basically. And so you can do stuff like that if you really want to get into it. And I've done that before, actually. With the Wildwood deck, mostly, I've spent time meditating with certain characters or archetypes in the deck, or some of them have just kind of popped in to my dreams or my meditations randomly. So anyways, you guys, this is my whole spiel on how to read the tarot. Let me know what from this discussion you feel like helped you the most. If you have any more questions about how to read the tarot. And I just want to reiterate that there really is no right or wrong way. Trust what works for you. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. This is about you. These are just some tips that have helped me and like helped some people I've worked with. So whatever works for you, and just remember it takes time. Sometimes we got to take a break from the tarot or it can get frustrating. I've been working with the tarot now for about 4 or 5 years. And that's like almost every day. I've taken breaks, but I've thrown myself into it. I've taken courses on it. I've studied it. So that's why like I'm at this point. But even for me, there's always more to learn. And I bet if you just pull a card a day, or you work with the spreads, you meditate with the cards, or do some of these tips here, give it a couple of months and you could be doing pretty well with the tarot. I think learning to read the tarot teaches you to trust yourself, but sometimes it is good to get a reading from someone who has a different perspective, or who has, learned something else about the tarot, or who knows it maybe longer than you have. So even I still get readings sometimes from other tarot readers, like here on YouTube, or people I've met who are, tarot professionals. But it's very good to learn how to pull cards for yourself. My hope for a lot of you guys who are getting readings from me, like a lot, I'm hoping that some of you guys I can empower you to learn how to get more messages on your own and through yourself, because that's such an empowering thing to be able to get readings from yourself from the tarot. The tarot is a tool. The better that you get at tapping into your intuition, maybe you won't even really need the tarot very much. Maybe the tarot is just the first step for you to kind of touch bases with yourself, and then you can move to meditation and then, be able to be more present. That's the thing the tarot has taught me, is how to be more present in my life. So yeah, I'm interested to see what the tarot has taught you. Leave some comments below. I'm gonna peace out now, get myself a snack, and go work on your readings. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.